Ladies and gentlemen, we have the privilege of having with us on the stage Mr. Ranjit Barthakur, who serves as an advisor to several government and private enterprises in pursuit of healthcare services, environmental issues, tourism, and social transformation. The chief architect of the thought process of developing the theme of neuronomics related to an alternative approach to capital formation for a region or organization through the creation of ecological compliant assets in a sustainable manner, and co-founder of several initiatives promoting agriculture. Mr. Ranjit is an entrepreneur with over 40 years of experience in managing and leading companies in a wide range of industries, including FMCG, telecommunications, tourism, technology and environment, agriculture, outsourcing, and healthcare. Mr. Ranjit firmly believes in social entrepreneurship towards betterment of environment and health and is constantly driving these initiatives and projects. Mr. Ranjit has initiated growth projects for public interest, social development and innovation in related business environmental conservation with the Balipara Foundation and the market consolidation. And I have the proud privilege in inviting him for the welcome address. Let's put a hand together to welcome Mr. Ranjit Barthakur.
According to the program that I had, I was to speak last, but now I'm speaking first, so welcome everybody and look forward to having an interesting session. I think in welcoming you to, the third or fourth such event of the Club of Rome, I find that we've had to question ourselves as to what really are we trying to achieve and who really attends this function. As you can see, meaning I would have obviously much preferred in welcoming many more people and many more participants. After all, this is, to us, as we define it, a very important session in terms of policy congruence on any of the elements that we've taken up. We've taken really 5 elements, which starts from land, which is water, food, energy and waste. I think this is really, it's not necessarily in that sequence how we started, but that's the sequence that we will follow. Next year will be energy and the year after will be the one on waste. We've been therefore pondering as to, have we really succeeded in our policy congruence over the last 3 years? And in asking ourselves that question, we find that maybe we haven't. One of the demonstrations is that while we are really honored and privileged to have all of you, is the fact that we do not have enough government people here because they are integral to policy. And integral to policy, is that we need the support of all government departments and therefore of the people that we invited. Obviously, we have not been convincing enough to entice them to come here, or it has clashed with other challenges such as Parliament and other different sort of needs of the government. So to that extent, I think we don't get a great rating system for attendance. 2 is our policies that we have actually proposed in the last 2 years for food and for water have also actually probably gone unnoticed, and if noticed, we have not been able to do a good job of either convincing government that this congruence is required for optimization of our water resources and optimization of what our food resources. So therefore, we in fact last evening we did it, even though over the last few months we've been discussing it, and under the leadership of Mr. Ramadurai and meaning thinker, friend and philosopher Ashok Khosla, I think we've been really fortunate to. I'll come to that in a bit in terms of the 4 waves of industrialization, or 4 waves that have actually led us to this whole challenge that we are facing now. And therefore, how does this governance take place? For example, Netherlands has a nature policy. The nature policy itself, by definition, is a congruent policy because it handles all departments, which is urbanization, road building, forest department. Everybody has to actually come in under that department. Not in terms of the hierarchical pyramid structure of reporting, but very much in terms of the structure of understanding to sustain our nature. That is the objective. This is what we want to do, and therefore structure that is there under follows this whole, meaning chasing this objective of good governance. So coming to governance, in terms of two other states, Costa Rica in the 50s was the most deforested country in the world. Today it is probably one of the most reforested country in the world. Meaning, how did Costa Rica do it? They're quite simple mechanisms, but if the objectives are clear, let's say in their case, their objective was how do we grow ecotourism? To do that, we need much more forestation. In that forestation, meaning what do we need to do? We've already suffered, or rather many people have gained by deforestation. How do we take this whole framework of forestation and actually rework it in order to support tourism, which has the biggest multiplier in terms of economic growth? So that's another kind of model. So here is Netherlands, which says a nature policy. Here is somebody who talks about tourism. Let's take closer to home. There are 2-3 countries which are important, I talk of Singapore, and however manicured Singapore may be and however meaning pure it may be in terms of modern living, it is modern living. It's an urban country, it's an urban city, which is a country, and it has actually a great balance of conversion of water for daily living, and it has a great system by which they've tried to balance the entire framework of what is the amount of what I would call sustainable green living in relation to the kind of building structure. So that's a great urban plan, because without urban plans, we're totally, missing. So good governance is also about leading good objectives and leading towards good, policy framework. Let us take northern Thailand. Again, I think the deceased king now, or the former king, through his wife, actually founded the Queen Sirikit Foundation. And she made the botanical garden and the botanical movement quite a home movement there. It was later challenged down the line, but they had the support of a person called Kun Michai, who also runs an organization similar to development alternatives, in saying that how do we engage communities in the betterment of this balance? So there is land, energy, waste, water, air, and carbon, which is the byproduct of all of this. How do we get this balance with everybody's desire fulfilled of the modern world, which is air conditioning and good cars and good life, etc. Good life as defined by the modern idiom of good life, fitting into the GDP model. So I think that's really one of the delivery items of governance. I have with me some thoughts in terms of what could be governance, and I think without governance, any kind of congruence of policy that we talk about is actually always challenged. So let's look. Good governance is a value-driven process, and it has been defined in a set of social values, beliefs, norms comprising of the rule of law, honesty, and accountability. Now, I'm saying, how is it practical? When you think of such a mumbo-jumbo phrase, how is it practical actually to say that a law which is there, how there's good governance, when the entire hierarchy of actually practicing good governance or implementing good governance, which includes the legal system, is in a way over-challenged? So in good governance, if you take it further and go into definitions like Millennium Goals, etc., you'll say full respect of human rights. What is this right that we have? The right to clean air and healthy environment. This is almost number one in a global basis. 2 is the rule of law, effective participation, multi-actor participation and partnerships, transparent and accountable processes, an efficient effective public sector, legitimacy, access to knowledge, information and education, political empowerment of people, equity and sustainability. How do we foster responsibility, solidarity and tolerance? And this is really from the sort of human relations, the United Nations developmental sort of agenda that I've actually picked it up. I picked it up not so much to sermonize as it may seem, because all of you are meaning educated people, including the people on the stage, but actually to open up a discussion saying, how will you achieve good governance if that is the theme of your sort of program? If it is about policy and it's about coherence of getting different departments together, who will govern this? How is this rule of law? Is it something that we really want, and is it something that we really want to practice? Before I end, I would just like to say, where are we? Where are we? And where are we not in terms of where the Club of Rome is only, but where are we in terms of actually the world? In the 1700s, roughly, to give you a snapshot of where we are, is we had a population of less than 1 billion. And we started what is called mechanical agriculture practices. So that was the first seed of really industrialization. The second seed of mass industrialization, which continued, would follow up. There have been other ages like the Iron Age and Stone Age, etc., which did have signs of such a delivery, but it was very correlated and understandable because the population was incredibly low. Then came the 1800s, when came energy. So you had energy, 1800s, 1900s, you had energy pushing transportation, you had energy pushing mechanization, and you had energy helping to make things better, brighter, faster, cheaper. So that's really the second wave wherein the West created the entire models, rightly so, because that's the way the world moves, of actually economic development indexes, whatever the indexes be, including management of finances and its delivery. The third part, and these are all really referenced by my own sort of understanding of the situation, and I'm happy to correction, came when the chemical and fertilizer revolution came. And the chemical and fertilizer revolution is actually spread across industry. It helped to get, again, better, brighter, faster, cheaper with energy, with mechanization. You add chemicals and fertilizer to that, you actually have that much more agriculture. And you have that much more delivery of food and goods and services. We started moving in a very sort of transparent maybe way, but definitely in a way which was to feed many more. 1900s, the population of the world had grown to 2.2 billion. Today, the world population, we are 2100, let's say 2020. The population, this sets the context and tone at a very macro level, with some efforts in trying to highlight the importance of botany and importance of governance. Thank you, good morning, and enjoy the next 2 days.
Indeed.